Thank you. Now, for those who weren't there this morning, Bill gave a great presentation talking about the human, social aspects of cities of the future. You heard that everybody has drawn on his talk to refer to that, and so Bill, now here's your opportunity to comment on the points which have been made, to tell us a little bit about your vision of how we can do this, and the key elements which have been put together here. And by the way, I didn't ask Pedro to give the press a compliment, but and we don't expect to get an easy out of that, but we'll take it as it comes. But Bill, now please a little synthesis on how this all comes together.
I want to thank Pedro for telling us the story, because I think that's what really helps us to understand what happens in these situations. It has to be, okay, got it. Thank you. I said I wanted to thank Pedro because for telling his story, because it's through stories like that we can understand what problems are that people really have to face in these countries. I was so pleased to hear of all the innovation that's going on, because that's what I was calling for. Here I agree with Bjorn. What I like to see is that we have to think about this in a more systematic way, this innovation. It's not individual pieces of technology that we should be thinking about, but how do we build different systems that meet the needs of different groups of people? It was mentioned that there are 200,000 people moving to cities every day. Well, those 200,000 are moving in developing countries to cities. And there are new cities, as you have mentioned, also being formed by small towns growing bigger and bigger. And these all need to have attention, and we should be thinking systematically about how we deal with these issues and examining the whole range of technologies and approaches that are available to serving them. It does take a lot of time, and working together is going to take time, but as I said, we have to start now working together to solve these problems, and working with not just with other technicians in our water field, but all of the other people who are concerned about the developing countries and developing cities. And then I didn't say anything about it this morning, but I would like to add another dimension to put on the table for all of us to consider. We've talked about the earthquake in Chile. There was the flood in Pakistan with millions of people displaced, thousands who died. It was a situation that didn't get as much coverage in our media here in Canada, probably because of our close ties to Haiti. But it was a big problem. And what's worse is I don't think it's understood that the millions of people who live in that floodplain cannot be protected. I mean, it will take 20 years to build a dam upstream that could provide partial protection, but it won't be complete. Now, do you think those people are going to move out of that floodplain? They don't want to. That's where they live and where they earn their livings, and they're going to try to get by with however they can get by, and they're going to live with that risk and that danger. Different one that I'll give in a minute. If we think of some of the countries in Africa, for example, where the country itself is poor, it's already short of water, because there are countries that are short of water. They don't have enough water now to grow their food. All of the scenarios from the IPCC say they're going to have less water. So how are they going to eat? How are we just going to leave them there to starve? What are the options that we have? Can we change our international trade arrangements so that maybe they can have a favored status to produce something they can produce without water to sell so that they can get foreign exchange to buy food? Are we going to lower our immigration barriers and welcome them into our countries, where they would have, hopefully, be able to get jobs and be able to eat. I think that what we're facing now, when I started in this field, we used to say there are water crises. There's no global water crisis because water is managed at the local level. The reality is that that picture has changed. There is a global water crisis, assuming that we all agree that we're all part of the same human family. There is a global water crisis. And how are we in the industrialized world going to respond? I think this is a moral issue for us to deal with. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Bill. Well, is there enough meat there for you to ask questions? I think there is so much, as I said. I believe we could go on forever and a day. But it's interesting just to comment on that aspect. And I believe the Danish Hydraulic Institute has been working in the Yellow River on removal of sediment and to protect the floodplains. This has had a huge impact on both production and also in terms of urban protection in those areas. There are solutions. The question is, do we have the will to make these solutions happen? So I'll now open this for questions. Do we have microphones ready?